Business intelligence combines business analytics, data mining, data visualization, and data tools and best practices to help organizations to make more data-driven decisions. A BI engineer's main work areas lies from reviewing and validating customer data as it's collected to overseeing the deployment of data to the data warehouse. Joining us today, we have Ms. Rashmi Fanishai, a senior business intelligence associate at LinkedIn. With over 4 years of experience as a business intelligence engineer, database administrator, and a business analyst, she is here to share with us her experience about business intelligence. A hearty welcome to you, ma'am, from the team of IEEE SRMSB. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Tejas, for that very nice introduction. Hey, everyone. My name is Rashmi, and Tejas already introduced me. I'm a senior business intelligence associate at LinkedIn. I'm going to give you a little more background about who I am and how I got here today, and then we'll talk a little bit about business intelligence. We'll see a real world application for business intelligence, and then we also might have some time for a special guest who's going to be joining, and then we'll take some questions. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen. Great. So I hope everyone can see my screen. Maybe Tejas or any of the organizers, can you just jump in and say yes, no? Just one word. Anybody?
Yeah, it's visible, Rashmi.
Okay, great. All right. So this is our agenda for today. I'm supposed to be talking to you all about business intelligence. And as I was thinking about what content to share with you guys, I remembered what it felt like for me as a student, as a grad. And, I was thinking about what I would like to hear, what is top of mind for me. Maybe I would always be thinking about how can I land my dream job, what would be the journey to get there. And so what I want to tell you guys is, first and foremost, there is no one size fits all framework that will work for everyone. You can make informed and guided decisions along the way, but ultimately you'll have to find your own way. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to do a little introduction. I'm going to tell you about myself. I'll give you an overview of business intelligence, very conceptually, very theoretically. And if you can sit through that, then I'm going to talk about how you can apply this to a real world scenario like at LinkedIn, how that translates. And then we'll talk a little bit about the different types of roles and jobs related to business intelligence. And then if we have some time, we will have a surprise guest who's going to come and join us and talk a little bit about their experience. And then we can do some Q&A. And I also want to say along the way, as I am presenting or talking about things, I'm happy to address questions. So feel free to interrupt and ask questions. I don't mind. You don't have to save it all the way to the end, at the end. So I would expect one of the hosts to maybe jump in and ask if there are any questions. All right. So let's jump right into it. So this is sort of my professional journey so far. I know Tejas said I have 4 years of experience, but it's a little more than that. It's probably my LinkedIn profile that's not updated. So good call out there. I'm going to update that. I have about 7 years of experience, 7-ish. I graduated from engineering college from SJC Mysore. And I studied instrumentation technology. And after that, I got a job at TCS as a database administrator. So completely different, nothing related to what I studied. I'm sure a lot of people have gone through that. But at that point, it was important for me to get placed and to get a job. So I took up this job. I got trained in Java, but then I ended up doing like back-end database data engineering work from about 2010 to 2015 or 2014 at TCS. So 3 years I did a lot of this database engineering, data engineering work. And then 1 year I was fortunate enough to be sent to on-site. The client that I was working for at that time was ExoServe, and they're this oil and gas management company in the UK. They manage all of the oil and gas transactions throughout UK. And I had the good fortune to go there and be in this sort of customer facing role, um, where I was leading a team back in India, and I was the sort of like the face of the team at onsite, and I was involved in more business decision making and talking to the customers, seeing what they want, right, sort of like translating that into requirements and work for my team back in India. That's kind of what I was doing. And as I was doing that, it sort of piqued my interest to get into this field where, I wanted to be a bridge between technology and business. I had like some background of technology because I worked as a data engineer, and then this was like a good experience for me to be in this role. And I was thinking about how to take my career forward. And so I decided like the next natural step for me is to do my master's. And so I joined UT Dallas in 2015 for my master's degree in management information systems. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this course. It's a hybrid of sort of like technical as well as business related coursework. It's quite intensive, and it was great. Got a lot of good knowledge there, theoretical again. And during my master's, I also did an internship, and I think this was really very crucial for my career. And this is where I joined Medi Analytics. It's this small company based out of Texas and California, and they do healthcare analytics for insurance companies and hospitals. So I joined there as a BI engineer intern, and there for about 8 months. So I was doing college work as well as, working as a BI engineer intern. And my day-to-day involved like building data warehouses, designing all these analytics and reporting systems for healthcare analytics. And the internship ended in 2017, and I also graduated that year. And my first job that I got here was at LinkedIn, and I joined as an associate, and I've been at this company progressing in my career since 2017. And this was one of my dream companies, and I was fortunate enough to join. And I'm still having a great time. So this is sort of my professional journey, how I started off and where I am right now. It doesn't end here. So that's why I have a start and not an end. I'm hoping to, take my career further in this field. All right. With that, let's jump into overview of business intelligence. Now, I was hoping this would be an interactive session, but I don't think that's possible because I don't think I can hear the audience. Basically, I wanted to start off by asking people what do they think business intelligence is, or what is their understanding of business intelligence. But let's skip that part, and let's jump right into the concepts. So once you enter the professional world, it's a lot of serious work, right? Like it's really serious stuff. Your day to day, you're going to be doing a lot of thinking, and it's going to be stressful. There's going to be deadlines. There's going to be promotions. There's going to be all of these things, right? So at LinkedIn, our motto is to dream big, get shit done, and to have fun while doing it. So in that interest, I have included this sort of comic strip, which we really love. It's called Dilbert Comics, and it's created by this guy called Scott Adams. It's really funny office humor, so I would encourage all of you to check it out when you have time. So this guy, I mean, I will let you guys read it. I'm sure you have read it by now. So with that, let's jump into it. All right. So now into the serious stuff. So every company, let's build our understanding of what business intelligence is very organically. That's what I want to do. So every organization, think of any organization, their vision is to ultimately create value. Now, take a look at different types of stakeholders here. So you have a shareholder of a company. Me as a shareholder, what would I be interested in? I would be interested in, say, cash dividends, or the money that I've invested in as shares. How much has it appreciated? So this is what is of interest to me. If I'm a customer, then I would care about products that are most useful for me at the best price. And if I'm in the sales team, say like a sales manager, I would care about how much revenue my team is generating and what are some high performing products. How can I make improvements to them? Or how is my team doing? So these are some of the things I would be interested about. So this is where we start off. Now let's progress. Let's add some more elements to it. So there are two blocks I've added here, which is effective decision making and the right information, right? So all of you must have heard of buzzwords like big data, data-driven culture, and data-driven teams. All of this is supported by a chain of business principles. And this BI value chain is a series of business principles. And when this is applied properly, it will give organizations the power to harness that information and maximize their value. I know all of this sounds like a lot of jargon right now, but I think all of this will become more and more clear as we go through this presentation. And then once I give you a real world example at LinkedIn, I think it'll become much clearer. So bear with me through all of this. So that's what value creation means, right? And so the world we live in right now is obsessed with speed, and all these successful businesses need to be able to think and move fast to be able to get ahead of its competitors. And using data, insights, and analytics is actually one of the differences between top performers and companies that want to be top performers. So being able to make these effective decisions, right? Like that is what drives these companies towards success. And business leaders who are informed with right decisions and not just being crowded with a lot of information, like that is the most important thing here, which is to have access to right information, but not a lot of noise. And being able to synthesize that data into information is what enables effective decision making, right? So these are the next two elements if you drill down into value creation. Now, let's jump into the next one. A little more complexity here. I've added elements to what effective decision making means and what right information means. So let's build some more on what we've seen. Like I said, every organization has a set of interrelated common activities, and these are usually generic to most companies, and they are very important to be able to create sustainable advantage. Now let's focus on the first block here. What does it have? It has the process to plan and create. And then it has the next block is having the right information, which is the process to monitor and refine, and information assets to empower. So let's go into effective decision making, the first block. So process to monitor and refine, what does this focus on? It mostly focuses on using reporting and analytics to evaluate the past, present, and also to be able to predict the future, right? And then jumping into the right information part, which is the information model and the data and the systems. Information models are the assets that are the foundational layer to a successful BI value chain. And these, at any stage in the BI chain, it's really important to remember that data must be relevant, right? Like you can have large amounts of data that is highly structured and organized, but it's only useful if it is effective in making sound decisions, right? So again, like I really want to stress on that part, because usually it's very easy to confuse like good technology with um, business intelligence, right? Like both go hand in hand, but just having good technology is not really enough for any organization. And the other thing is that the information must be meaningful. Meaningful information is what is useful information. So here we need to think of data that is accurate, that is consistently defined, and relevant to the day to day of the business, how relevant it is, like how relevant this information is, and how it is going to help me make decisions or provide insights into how my business is doing. And ultimately, this information should be actionable. And what do you mean by that? So, actionable is being able to provide the decision maker an opportunity to make the decision. So, if I am, say, the CFO of LinkedIn, then I care about, with all the data that LinkedIn is generating, what do I care about? I care about how much revenue my team is bringing, how much revenue is the company generating, what are the products that are doing really well, where is there some area of improvement, what can we change, maybe there is a new feature that you can add to a product, or maybe there is an area where people are doing really well, what can we take from there and utilize in other areas. So these are just some of the high level things that they would care about, right? So this is sort of like getting more deep into this. So with that, I want to jump into LinkedIn's BI chain. This is the whole concept. I know it was a lot of jargon. I probably went too fast with this, but hopefully now things will become a little more clearer, right? So I'm taking the sales org, the global sales org. This is the team that I work on at LinkedIn. And the mission of our org is to deliver the right information to the global sales org at the right time. That is what we intend to do. And GSO is, like I said, is the global sales org. And okay, let's take a step back. Before that, I want to give you an overview of what LinkedIn does, right? Like, as you know, LinkedIn is an internet-based company, and it has a professional social network. I think most of you know that. That is LinkedIn.com. But apart from that, LinkedIn also has 4 other products that we sell. It's called LinkedIn Talent Solution, LinkedIn Market Solutions, LinkedIn Sales Solution, and lynda.com. It used to be called lynda.com, and now it's called LinkedIn Learning Solutions. These are the 4 main lines of businesses, and this is how LinkedIn actually makes money. The social network is just one of the things, right? Like the subscriptions that you get from there. But this is the main money-making business that LinkedIn is in. So going into the sales org, the team that I work on, it's called the Global Sales Organization. And we sort of like take care of all the lines of businesses, right? Like everything related to sales of all these 4 products, any products that LinkedIn sells. So our goal here is to deliver the right information to the global sales org at the right time. What was our strategy? Our strategy was to build a BI ecosystem for effective reporting and analysis. That is the strategy we set out with. Objectives, right? Like once you have a strategy, you need to think of what my objectives are. What do I want to ultimately achieve from this, right? So some important objectives for us was to be able to do quick analysis, like provide our sales reps and people in the sales org to be able to do analysis very quickly in a robust environment, in an easy to understand environment. And we also wanted it to be very scalable. We wanted a scalable infrastructure to be able to develop all of these business critical metrics. Like I said, revenue, or how much bookings have we done in this year, or what products have we booked. These are just some of the key critical metrics. And then we have plans. So what were our plans? Our plan was to develop work streams with aligned roles and responsibilities. That was our plan of action, with the mission, the strategy, the objective ultimately translated into this plan, right? Now, performance measurement. How do we measure this performance? Are the stakeholder teams able to make better and faster decisions? Because that is what we set out to do, right? We set out to deliver the right information at the right time. Now, we wanted to measure whether we're doing well in this project, and that would mean direct stakeholder feedback and asking them if this has actually improved, right? Their day to day has improved. Then, if you think about reporting and analysis, this includes business reviews, rep performance dashboards. These are just some of the things that our stakeholders use on their on a day-to-day basis. Business reviews, again, like I said, we do it once in a quarter. We look at all of these key business metrics, and then that is consolidated, condensed, and sent to our CFO and ultimately our CEO as well. So that is what the business review means. And now we get into a little more the more technical layer, which is the information models. And this includes building highly crafted data sets, right? Like that is how you build up along the chain. And how do you build highly crafted data sets? By having a very robust offline data warehouse, right? And the system that matters for us was the CRM, because this is a tool that our sales rep use to sell products. And in case of LinkedIn, we use Salesforce. I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about Salesforce. So this is how it goes from the ground up, right? And in each layer, the team members are very different. So the first layer, which is the value creation and effective decision making, is mostly the business teams. This is like the sales operations team or business operations team or the analytics team that I work on, more business focused. And then if we come into the second block, this is where, we have data engineers, software engineers, and other like system administrators. And these are the different stakeholders in that layer. So this is how LinkedIn's BI chain at a high level, this is what it looks like. It's much more complicated than this, but I've tried to simplify it just for sake of understanding. So with that, I thought I can talk about a day in the life of my life, like what I do on a day-to-day basis, what my day looks like. So, like I said, I'm a senior business intelligence associate and I work on the sales analytics team. My day typically starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. I go to office. This is all pre-COVID. So I would reach office at 9 a.m. And one of the perks of being in the Bay Area and working in one of these fancy companies is that you have benefits like free breakfast and free lunch. So we had this amazing spread every morning, and I would start my day off with a very healthy, yummy breakfast. And typically after breakfast would be our daily stand-up meetings. So this is where I would meet with other teams like engineers, data scientists, business leaders, or like the sales operations team, business operations team, the customer operations team, and we would discuss features like, things that we were developing in that BI value chain. So for example, it could be the highly crafted data sets, right? So we would discuss what we've built. And we have this thing called sprints, which is a 2-week project where we develop products. And so we would get together and discuss what is the progress. And we would use this opportunity to ask questions, to collaborate, to see if it is going the right direction, provide inputs, and do some brainstorming in general. So those are what my stand-up meetings look like. And then I would have some time until lunch, about 2 hours, where I would do my work, which is like my IC time. I build dashboards, I build data models, I build project plans, I think of requirements for the next sprint and, what I need to hand over to the engineering teams. So I do all of this first half of my day. Then again, yummy lunch for an hour. And then I would have internal team meetings. So I work on the sales analytics team, and we are a team of 5 people now, still growing. And all of us sort of work in silo on different pieces of the project. So it's very important to come together as a team and exchange ideas, talk about what you're doing, get a fresh set of eyes to take a look at what you're doing, and get inputs, get suggestions. So that way we would spend time, an hour every day, just talking, just collaborating. And then I would have more meetings like office hours. So office hours are where I would host a meeting, and then I would have people from different teams join and ask me questions. This is all of my stakeholders who I work with, and they would dial in and they would ask me questions. I would provide clarifications. I would take a look at their SQL codes and scripts, and then help them over there, or tell them how to build a metric, how to get to a metric. Look at their Tableau dashboards, and see where we can make improvements. All of that sort. Office hours, and then what else? Then I would have tea, and usually my tea is with. I would be meeting people. This is like my way of networking within the company also. I would meet people from different teams. Maybe a new person has joined my team, so I just want to spend time with them, or, sort of an informal get to know each other. People working on different projects within LinkedIn. Maybe I'm interested in something and I just want to know about it. That is how I spend my tea time. And then, my role is actually very meeting heavy. So I spend a lot of time in meetings. We have feature meetings, and I would never know how my day ends. So that's typical day in my life, how it goes. With that, I know we are running short of time, but let me just give you an overview of what type of jobs are there in business intelligence. So analysts, these are the business teams. Like I already said, sales operations teams, business operations teams, these are the people who are well versed in processes. A lot of them usually have MBA degrees, and that's their specialty. So these are the analysts. And then there are associates from analytics team. These are people like me who are, hybrid sort of. We wear different hats every day, depending on the team. So being able to translate things from a technical standpoint to a business standpoint, and vice versa. So that's what we do. And then we have data scientists. These are the people who sort of synthesize all of the data from the foundational level and make them into meaningful, buckets. And they also build predictive models. They build prescriptive models, and, in general, statistical models of how the business is doing and where they can go, or make decisions again. Then we have data engineers, software engineers. This is sort of at LinkedIn, there's not really a difference between data engineers and software engineers. They're all called software engineers now. And these are the people that build the applications around the data. So like we have Salesforce, and a software engineer would be the guy who would, or the girl who would, be building pipelines to pull the data from all of these upstream systems and dump that into a data warehouse. And then a data engineer ideally is supposed to be building all the data models and structuring, or giving a structure to this data warehouse. And software engineers are also people who they don't really care about data that much. They mostly care about end user experience. So if I'm a person logging into an application from end to end, how smoothly it works for me is what they care about, and that's what they build. So these are all the people I interact with on a day-to-day basis, and these are just some jobs in the business intelligence area. So with that, I think we can do 5 minutes of the surprise guest, and then we can jump into questions. All right. Let me exit from this and stop sharing my screen so that you can see.
Hey guys, my name is Karan, and I just wanted to jump in. I saw this opportunity that my wife was talking about, something that she works on. So I thought like I'm available for some time today. So I thought I can jump in and share my experience. I completely am in a different field than my wife. So maybe it'll be helpful for you guys who are in maybe some of the electrical engineering degrees or some of the stuff related to hardware. So I currently work at Apple, and how I got to Apple and what did I do before. I just want to share about that. And if some of you have questions later, we can go into that. So I did my engineering in telecommunications engineering from Bangalore. And then from there, picked up some interest in working in telecom. So it was a little bit of a different path than Rashmi took. She took interest into something that she started working on. So I studied something and I thought like was interesting, so maybe worth pursuing further. And then I came to the US to do my master's in 2008, and then graduated from master's from University of Florida in electrical engineering, and got into the field of hardware engineering and how generally communications technologies work, because that was my interest. I was always interested by phones, fascinated by phones from a very young age. So just wanted to see where if I can build a career in this. So started working for a company called Nokia back in 2012, and from there I was interacting with a lot of wireless carriers. So like you guys have Airtel, Geo, and other wireless carriers in India. We have similarly carriers like AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile in US. So started working with these carriers, deploying their networks for communications. So what I mean by these networks is like, okay, so the networks like 3G, 2G, 4G, and now 5G has come. So it has always been a constant learning path for me as a in the career. So always have to constantly learn, constantly have to evolve into different technologies along the way. And now I started working for a company called Apple in 2016. So from working on the network side of things, the network is communicating with a lot of devices. So I worked on a lot of networks. So my experience was valuable for a handset manufacturer, which communicates with the network. So looking at the communication between the network and the handset. So I right now do system design at Apple. So what we do here is design different hardware products from the ground up. So all these awesome products that you hear about and that you use, how they are built is a lot of work that goes into it. So just want to talk about different pieces of what goes into the iPhone and the iPads or other communication devices that we built. So some of the technologies that we use are uh, like based on communication. So already I told about 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. So these are the communication technologies that you use. But iPhone in itself is a hardware, right? So hardware has different hardware components like an antenna, like a chip that does all the processing. So how all these components work together with each other is what I do, and try to make them work together from a hardware and a software perspective sometimes. So that is basically a system design engineer's role here at Apple. So I just don't have enough time to maybe delve into it into much more detail, but I just thought like, okay, I'm here. I should share my journey and experience as well. But I will hand it over back to Rashmi, and I'll be here as well if someone has more questions or is more interested in learning about what I do. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Karan, for that. I think now we are ready to take questions. Feel free to ask questions about what I said or, what Karan has spoken about.
Oh, first of all, thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am, for joining us this session, giving us your precious time. I'm sure that audience is enthralled to have you here. And now let's proceed to Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first question is asked by Avi. His question is, as a data scientist aspirant, how can we make our LinkedIn profiles more appealing and grow our network?
Great question. I would say a data scientist would be able to give you a better answer to this. But since I work with data scientists, what I can tell you is, definitely get experience. That is the most important thing on your LinkedIn profile. If I'm a recruiter, or if I'm on a team and I want to hire a data scientist, I would be looking at your work experience, definitely, and then also the sort of projects that you've done. So your skill set, both of them go hand in hand. So there is a lot of learning resources. There's so many things out there right now. I would say just pick one course, start from the ground up, start adding things to your skill set, and in the meantime try to apply them to real world projects, real world scenarios, and sort of build your profile that way. And one more thing I want to point out is, networking. Try to talk to data scientists, right? Like, find a data scientist, connect with them. That's what LinkedIn is for. Connect with these professionals, ask them on a day-to-day basis, what are your challenges, what do you work on, what does your day-to-day look like, and they can tell you. This is the most valuable thing, in my opinion. And yeah, that's how you should be using LinkedIn.
Okay, I guess that answered his question. And now the next question is from Kavya Priya. Her question is, business intelligence has quite a lot of interventions from big data and data analytics. It'd be great if you suggest a few ways to master them.
So like I said, there is no one size fits all. There are different paths you can take and ultimately get to where you want to be. So that is why I invited my husband here, because he is the guy who stuck to his roots from the beginning, from like his engineering and, what he's doing right now, but I didn't do that. So if you're an aspiring, what was the question again? Aspiring data business analytics a person, how do I get there?
Yeah. Business
Yeah.
intelligence has quite a lot of interventions from big data and data analytics. So,
Yeah.
suggest that.
So,
Building data
yeah,
intensive
so I would say,
applications, that book you can
yeah, there are books that I can recommend, but to answer this question, I would say it's very important. So, like I
Understanding the
said,
landscape.
my role here at LinkedIn, I wear different hats at different times. I have to be able to talk to the really technical people like software data scientists, and I also have to be able to talk to like a business analyst, or somebody from the sales ops team. So having knowledge of both. So what helped me was that I was an engineer. I understood how big data and all the back end stuff worked. So that's what gave me the advantage to talk to engineers. And my master's, what I did, which was very theoretical, gave me that sort of business knowledge, right? Like how do you tie technology to business? And that is what is most important in roles like this, and that is what people are looking at, is that you're able to be technical when you have to be technical, and also be able to think about how the business works and what is important to a business. It's not just important if you have a fancy sort of data warehouse, and if you don't know how that translates into what is useful to the business, because ultimately businesses want to be successful. They want to be able to sell more, they want to be able to make more money. So looking at all of this data and then thinking of what are the drivers that will make my business successful, that is the sort of mindset that you have to get into. Talking about the resources, there is this book called Designing Data Intensive Applications. It's a very good book. Highly recommend. Somebody at Google recommended it to me recently. I still have to go through this book, but I'm hoping that I can. But this would give a very good understanding of how a system design would work. It's called Designing Data Intensive Applications. I hope that helps.
Okay, so I guess that answered her question.
Priyank, you're stuck.
All right.
Okay, back.
Now, am I visible?
Oh, you're on mute, probably. I think I can hear you, but it's not clear.
Priyank, come again, please.
Yeah. So now it's fine, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
You're good.
So the next question is, ma'am, can you suggest how a fresh startup new to the industry can take the advantage of BI?
It's a very good question. I haven't personally worked in a startup until now. I am considering it, but again, so the thing with startups is you're not dealing with a lot of data like all these big companies, and I would follow the same framework, right? Like ultimately, it's about having good technology, very important. Building sound data warehouses, again, very important. Good data modeling practices, good data modeling techniques, and then talking to like maybe the founder or like whoever the guy is, right? Like who cares about reporting and analysis, talking to them constantly, and getting their requirements and then building. So it's a very iterative process. It's never going to be right at the first go. It's about like I said, iterative. You build something, maybe that's not what they want, and then maybe you make improvements to it. So constantly keeping that in mind and being able to fail fast. That I would say that is what is the most important thing. But maybe once I join a startup, and you guys can obviously connect with me on LinkedIn, and then I will let you know how it goes if once I'm able to do that.
Okay, sure, ma'am. I surely request you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Lavia. Tell us about some of the real world problems tackled by business intelligence engineers on a daily basis, and how upcoming BI engineers can do the extra work to prepare for the same.
So real world. So I gave you a scenario of how business intelligence works at LinkedIn, right? So if I have to jump into the data layer, like the engineering layer, again, I'm not the one doing this, but then I know because I work with them on a day-to-day basis. Again, my answer might not be the most accurate because I'm not an engineer, or that's not my role right now. But let's say, for example, I have this CRM called Salesforce, right? And that is what our sales reps at LinkedIn use to sell products. And that entire sales is captured in a series of events. So you have a person, you collect like a lead, right? Who you want to sell the product to. And then you contact the lead, and then you try to make a sale. And then that is called an opportunity, like to make a sale. And then maybe that opportunity gets converted, does not get converted into a final sale. So, and that's sort of like a very high level how the sales process works. Now, all of this is captured in Salesforce, the system, right? And me as a BI engineer, it's important, say, like the business has come to me and said, I want to see how the business is doing. Now, what do I have to do? I have to make sure that I ETL the data, like get the data from this Salesforce, and then be able to build a data model. And all of these things that I told you in the sales process, like a lead, maybe that is an entity, right? Like lead itself, that is a table that you have to create. And then there is opportunity, that is another table in my data warehouse that I have to create. And then finally, maybe sale, right? Like that's another data table that I have to create. So a data engineer would take all of this, create all of these different elements in the data warehouse, and then a person like me would come in and say, hey, this is what I want to see. And another sales analyst would come and build reports and dashboards, and maybe build a Tableau dashboard on top of this data, and then show it to the business that, hey, this is how it's working. This is how we are doing it sales, right? So that is what an engineer would do: build this ETL pipeline, model the data, build the data warehouse, and make sure that that is running smoothly. So this is what happens at LinkedIn. It's just a high level example. What was the second part of the question?
What is the problem that you
Okay.
What is the problem? What was the second part of the question?
What is the problem that you
The second part was
what
how
is the
can
problem?
they be prepared? Like new startups be prepared for the upcoming problems.
How can they be prepared for the upcoming problems? I guess you can't always anticipate problems. I mean, they just crop up. But if I were to think about it, we do a lot of risk analysis, risk management, things that we can do to mitigate risks. Again, I'm probably thinking from a business standpoint, but maybe a software engineer would be able to answer this question better. But I mean, yeah, I guess being a good software engineer is what counts, and you'll be able to, handle whatever problem comes your way. I don't know if that's the best answer to your question, but you know, maybe you can talk to a software engineer.
So I guess that answered his question. And the next question is from Rajat. He asks, can you describe your experience in media analytics and what kind of projects your company worked on? Also, what do employers look for in an entry-level data analyst working out of the college?
Media analytics. So, media is one of the products that LinkedIn sells, and these are ads, right? So, when you go into LinkedIn, you might see like a company trying to, like maybe a company has an ad on a course that they're offering that you can like pay for, or a job that you might be interested in. So, these are all like sponsored ads at LinkedIn. It's one of the products that we sell. It's called LMS. And I have worked on all of the lines of businesses like that. It's a global sales org, right? So, yeah, that's one of the things that I worked on. And
For media analytics, there is A/B testing.
yeah, and I think for media analytics, they use A/B testing. I haven't really done a lot of it, but that is what the data scientists would do. And to what you would look for in an entry level analyst, I would say definitely technical skills. Like SQL is super important in BI. I want to stress on that. Very important to have good SQL skills. Very important to have some data visualization skills like Tableau. I think that's the most commonly used one. That's what we use at LinkedIn as well. So look at all like what different companies use. SQL is a must. Tableau, perhaps some data warehousing techniques. If you're at an entry level, they don't really look for a lot of industry experience. But if you're able to show your skills based through project, yeah, or through maybe college project or maybe some personal project that you've done, and tying it back to that role, that is the most important thing. See what that job description is. See what they're looking for. See what technologies they're looking for. Sometimes what you've studied can also be interchanged, or you can apply that to a different technology. So like for example, SQL and HiveQL are very similar. So if you know SQL, you might be able to crack a HiveQL role as well. So yeah, lots of projects and maybe good coursework in all of these areas.
So I guess that answered his question, and he might just get the job wherever he requires. Okay, so the
Yeah.
next question is from Stuti. Now, what is more in vogue and demand in the industry? Big data Hadoop or MongoDB or PostgreSQL, or does it depend on the working of the company?
So these are all different types of databases that you're asking. And I think right now it's Hadoop. I don't know. I haven't looked at the Gartner quadrant that shows, what technology is being used the most. But I think it's Hadoop. It's open source, so that's why it's very highly used, and it's the best distributed system out there. Yeah, so I think it's Hadoop.
Okay.
Maybe we
So,
can take two more questions because it's
yeah.
almost going to be 11 a.m. here.
Okay, so the next question is from Aditya.
Mhm.
What encouraged you to switch from a data engineering role to a customer facing or a business role? What are the added advantages in the business role that you took?
Yeah. So, like I said, I think the first thing that piqued my interest was when I was at onsite from TCS. I just wanted to go onsite at that point. I wanted that experience. I knew it was a customer facing role, but I did not know what to really expect. But once I was in that role for a year, I really liked the customer facing aspect to it. I'm not sitting at my computer all day and just working in silo. I get to interact with a lot of people, talk to a lot of people, see how you can make your business more successful. See what the drivers are for a successful business, right? So that sort of really piqued my interest, and that's sort of why I wanted to make that switch. But I've been very mindful of wanting to also keep up with my technical skills. Maybe it's not as much as a current data engineer would be, but yes, I always try to keep one leg here and, uh, sort of be in both, do both at the same time. Yeah. And
Okay.
there are no advantages to it. Like, I mean, it's just what your interest is, right? Any field, whatever area you choose, there is a lot of growth. There is a lot of opportunity to make good amount of salary, like get a good compensation. So it really depends on what you are interested in. And I honestly did not know what I wanted to do or what I was interested in, and that's how my journey has been. And I want to say that's okay. If you don't know yet, it's fine. You're going to find your way. And even once you are in a place where you think it's good, you would want to do more. So, it's always constant learning, and nobody has it all figured out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, keep that in mind.
Even I myself is trying. I'm trying to find out my way. Okay. So the
Yeah,
next,
yeah, it's very natural. So, like, don't
yeah,
don't think that you should have a 10-year plan. Like, I know
yeah,
people ask, like, where do you want to be in 10 years? It's okay if you don't know where you want to be in 10 years. But I'm sure, like, if you follow what you're interested in, you'll figure it out.
yeah. Oh. So the next question is from Pratyaksh. His question is specifically for Karan sir.
Okay.
Uh, he asks, do you think 5G will be able to spread on a large scale even when it is facing too much problems already right now in passing through walls and trees?
So that's a good question. So it is a good question in the sense that that is the impression that people have, that 5G is not able to go through walls or trees. So there are two technologies within 5G. One is called FR1 and one is called FR2. So FR1 is deployed on lower frequencies. So if you guys have studied some engineering, you would know that lambda is equal to C by F. So if
Yeah,
the frequency is lower, you can go farther, and if the frequency is higher, you cannot go that much far. So the other part of the 5G is FR2, which is deployed on higher frequencies. So a lot of spectrum, or a lot of these wireless carriers have a lot of spectrum on 28 gigahertz and 39 gigahertz, which is not very widely used in today's 4G or 3G networks. So that's why the deployment is easier and much faster without investing a lot of money and on the spectrum itself. So that's why a lot of companies are investing a lot of money in FR2. But the good thing is that FR2 provides a lot of capacity. It is much faster than 4G, and what it does is it kind of helps alleviate the problem in like hotspot areas, like maybe let's say a mall or a stadium, or where a lot of people congregate at a single given time. So when that happens, you can deploy maybe 10 to 20 sites in a given stadium, and that will be very helpful, and 5G will be much better than if you deploy, let's say, 10 to 20 sites of a 4G technology. So that's where that FR2 is very helpful. And then we also have the other version of 5G, which is FR1, which can go the distance and can penetrate walls and trees. And so this is to keep in mind that 5G is not completely useless as it has been made out to be. 5G is actually very, very interesting, and it is the future that in the next 6 to 7 years we are going to see.
Okay, I guess that answered his question. And now can we move on to just one last question, ma'am?
Yeah, sure. How many questions do you have? Like, I just want to
Uh,
know.
there are like three, four, five,
Three.
five questions left.
Okay, maybe
I
we
can answer more questions if
maybe
you have for me.
maybe we can go through 5. It's okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Stuti. What
Mhm.
are the core competencies and skills, software knowledge essential to a data scientist or a BI engineer or an analyst or DB admin?
Okay, so that's a lot of roles, and I can talk about analyst and a DB admin. So for an analyst, I've already suggested SQL is very important. What else? Some data visualization technique. Tableau, I would say, is the most commonly used. So that if you're a data scientist, definitely statistical analysis. That would be very useful. What else? Any database, like take anything, maybe Hadoop or Spark is what is. I'm also not very familiar with Spark, but that's what is used at LinkedIn. That would be a good skill set to have. What else? DB admin. I was an Oracle DB admin. I think Oracle also still is pretty common in the industry. So I think having knowledge of that, having knowledge of, as a DB admin, what I would do is deploy databases, build databases, and do SQL tuning, be able to partition data. So all these sort of skills would be helpful. Software engineer, coding. I think coding, I would suggest anybody in any field, at least related to remotely related to software, having knowledge on any one coding language would be great. And when it comes to data, Python is what is mostly preferred. But if you're a pure software developer, they would look for Java. But I would suggest Python, picking up Python. Yeah.
So I guess that answered the question. And the next question is again from Suti. How much do Power BI and Tableau help a BI engineer in real life, in daily life?
Okay, so we use both at LinkedIn. Tableau is very good with connecting to offline data sources, meaning that there is some delay, usually a day or two, in looking at like in the results or what you see in the dashboards. And it does really well in terms of building your own functions and your own sort of formulas. That's what Tableau is that way Tableau is really good. Power BI we use for real-time reporting, and it integrates very well with Microsoft products. We use Microsoft products at LinkedIn, so we use Power BI that way. And Power BI, I think, is more easier to use, more intuitive, but Tableau is more powerful. So both of them very useful. Both of them used by a lot of companies as well.
Okay, so I guess that answers the question. And the next question is from Akansha. She says that she has done an internship, BNY Mellon, where she had to design dashboards in Arcadia BI from different data sources, and she loved how these dashboards help management make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked, how do I grow my career in BI as starting as a SWE in, say, the long run, say 5 years? That's the question.
So I guess what I'm understanding is you want to start off as an analyst and then move towards software engineering. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I guess she asked that she wants to have a career in BI only. So what to do as starting
reporting
for the long run?
Because I thought I heard SWE there, so I was not sure.
Yeah, SW is there. It's there.
Okay, so SW is software engineer, right? So
yeah, it's starting.
Okay.
She wants to be like she has some reporting experience and she wants to grow her career. And
yeah. So
I go forward for a BI engineer.
Yeah, so I think you've started off in the right way. You know, you did an internship. That is great. That will add a lot of value to your profile and to your resume, because you know that's what matters ultimately, how you're able to do on your job. So now with that, I would say look for a full-time role in the same area, because you want to start off that way. Picking up some definitely skill gaps. All of these BI technologies, I've already mentioned quite a few, right? So make sure that you're getting good at it. Make sure that you are good at building more complex dashboards. You know, do a project of your own, maybe build something. There are a lot of data sources out there that you can just download for free, and then Tableau has a free version. Download that and, you know, maybe build your own data analysis on Tableau. that will be great, for practice as well as showcasing in your interview. Once you do that, big data technologies I've already mentioned. For coding, lead code is the best. Start off, take a programming language. As you're studying the programming language, go to lead code and try to solve some real problems. And I think that is the way how you can build up towards
Okay.
software engineering. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that answered the question. And the next question is again from Stuti. In the field of data science, how can one avoid the overfitting of their model?
It's a very data scientist related question, and I'm afraid I have not done it. So, would be best to ask. Tell Stuti. Stuti has a lot of interest in this, so
Yeah,
I would love to see a connection request from her, and I'm happy to introduce her to any data scientist who I know, a couple of my colleagues, whom she can like directly talk to, and get some answers.
Okay. So one last question, ma'am. It's from
Mm-hmm.
we know Samsung is working on 6G. So what can we expect out of it? We know it will give more speed, but again, it will create it will give more speed, but again, it will create what can we expect in terms of its range of 6G.
Okay, so this is too far out in the future. I think we need
Yeah.
to get better at 5G first. Uh, I know Samsung does a lot of things. As an employee of Apple, I can definitely say that Samsung does a lot of things which are very futuristic. Maybe makes a folding phone which doesn't work. So we believe in doing things that really work. And I would say that 5G is going to stay here for a long time, and we don't need to be talking about 6G for a while. That's a good answer to that question. I think because people don't believe in 5G for now, so we need to make sure that we have our deployments that are good and dense. And there are a lot of carriers that are getting started, and they are going to get better at it, because once the important thing to know about it is that once if you are interested in the field of telecom, that a lot of these companies are investing a lot of money in buying the spectrum, and they invest a lot of money in building out a network, and they don't just want to do it for a year or two. They want to see the return on investment for maybe the next 8 to 10 years, and then they want to move on to the next technology which comes after that. So I think 5G is going to stay here for 7 to 8 years, because a lot of companies are investing a lot of money in it. And that's what happened with 4G, because I remember when I came to the US in 2010, then 4G LTE was the technology that was just getting started, and that's was kind of the first technology that I learned properly, apart from 3G, which obviously I had to learn because it was the fallback technology now, which 4G is for 5G. So whenever you have a new technology, there also has to be a fallback technology, because a new technology is not going to be fully deployed. So thinking about that, that 4G stayed for about 10 years, a good 10 years that we were on 4G, and a majority of the next few years also you're going to see 4G, which was a very powerful technology and still is. And 5G is an incremental enhancement, and that's what 6G is also going to be, but it's still a few years out.
Oh, okay. So with that, I guess we can we go on for one last question. I guess it's from Aditya.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, he asks, do you think the future of the mobile industry will involve a cloud service which has more powerful potential in providing performance to devices using the cloud? Instead of using hardwares on device, use the hardware provided on the cloud.
That's a very complicated question. I need to think about it. But I think from what I'm hearing is that some kind of a cloud infrastructure can replace the hardware itself. I think that's very, very futuristic to think of right now. I think a lot of our data on the different hardware that we use in our life, whether be the iPad or the iPhone or any tablet for that matter, or any phone that you guys use, has a cloud service connected to it. And there are multiple cloud service providers, iCloud or OneDrive or those kind of things that are available to you right now. But completely taking the handset out of your hand. I think it's probably too far out to think, but what I can see is that more things are going to be on the cloud, and we don't need as much on-device storage maybe in a few years. But accessing the cloud, you need some hardware, which people on the go can access the cloud. You need some hardware to do that. So I think it's hardware is going to stay in people's hands for a while. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that answered the question. And I guess with this, we come at the end of the session. It was a very informative session, sir and ma'am. I hope that that our audience grasped a lot of knowledge, both of your presence.
Yeah.
And I would really like to thank both of you for gracing us in this session. And I would also like to thank our very lovely audience for joining this session. And please do join us for today at 6 for a talk on careers in UX design. And now I would request you, ma'am and sir, to please join us on backstage for a few moments.
Okay.
Sure. That's good.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Signing off.
And just to end it on a good note, if any of you guys or any of you who joined today probably could not get your question through, or we ran out of time, or if there is something that you think of, even if you don't know the answer, we'll try to find it for you, because obviously we are just two people who probably don't know everything, but we are good resources with good contacts and good networking. So if there is something that comes up in your mind and you want to reach out, surely do. LinkedIn is a good resource. Use it and connect with us, and we would be happy to answer your questions.
Yep. +1 to that.
Okay, so that's very thoughtful of you guys. So I guess thank you, and please do join us on backstage for a few moments. Okay.
Sure.
Signing off, your host Priyank Kapoor. Thank you, guys.